But because I'm really concerned about all of this, and I'll tell you what it starts with me. My wife did this for SCLC, as that Stop the Violence,
yes,
right? For SCLC years ago, and she had it planned so that those who had been the husbands of famous people that had been killed, you know, because they were wiser than I didn't get killed. And that was to lead the parade. You get my point? And that we have those crying out. It's right after Martin's death, you see, right? And when you stacked up, there were about 6 famous people, both black and white, right, that was killed during that period. And so she wanted those women, those wives, to be the leaders for it. Violence is and has been and will remain for some time the language of American culture. All right? How do we get rid of it? Right? You can't get rid of it by not talking about it. All right? You can at least do something about it. And not only that, it gives the introduction into, he knows this, he says, but since you've started to say it, I'll just let you say it. But it gives the introduction into who we are. We're Martin's people. And this is the moment, because the president has said we've got to get rid of guns, right? Which is one point in this whole matter of violence. And when you were talking about women, nobody gets killed more by, just not beat, killed by their spouses. It's a part of American life. And it's hard to even find the stats on, because it's taken so lightly. And we're dealing at a time when India has said, we will stop raping. I mean, the people of India, far more important, right? We will stop raping women in the streets. In fact, stop raping women and talking about them as though they're no more than animals to be butchered, right? If that side of the world, which was the Gandhi side of the world, would come forth, then why can't we, who are the Western carriers of nonviolence, right, and the immediate followers of Martin King, right, that he is our symbol of what the world should be.
Mrs. Steele has such a platform to do great things. She's a committed individual. She's a great additive for the Southern Christian Leadership Conference. Under her leadership, a lot will happen. And I told her that. And I told her today that SCLC and the founder, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., was known for his nonviolence, as are the tenets of SCLC. But she could do something very special. Girls are being trafficked in such high numbers. But it's not just girls we have to save. We got to save our society. And I told her that she could do so much to help change it. That violence has to be eradicated. And whether it's violence in the streets or violence in the home, we've got to educate people to the humanity of each of us. That we have to be brothers and sisters to each other. So we must teach one, reach one, and save one. And that's when our society will be just what we want it to be. Mrs. Steele, with her leadership, is a catalyst for that change.
Okay.
Hello, my friends. This is State Representative Tyrone Brooks, President of the Georgia Association of Black Elected Officials, a veteran of SCLC. And we're so proud to be standing with SCLC and Mrs. Steele and all of those who are working with our program, Justice for Girls. We believe that GABIO, NAACP, SCLC, Rainbow Push, all of the organizations who believe in saving our girls ought to be collaborating together and working together. And we just want to be a part of the launching of this project. And we want to commend Mrs. Steele for conceiving the idea. Justice for Girls ought to be a major component of SCLC. And I just have to reflect on the past because I was here for many years and we had a program to stop the violence working across America, many of us in the trenches. The gangbangers, trying to bring peace among the gangs across America. And this reminds me of that work in the 70s and 80s. And I just want to thank Ms. Steele and all of those who are working today because sex trafficking, the trafficking of our children cannot be tolerated. So Justice for Girls is going to be a model for SCLC and all of the partners who are working with us to make sure that we can have an impact on stopping the trafficking of our children and stopping the violence that occurs every day. Because sex trafficking really is violence on our community. It is violence on our babies, but it's violence on our communities. And I think we have to stand up and we have to begin to take the initiative to stop it. We can't talk it away. We can't dialogue it away. We can't philosophize it away. We have to get involved and act and work to make it go away. We have to work it out of our communities. And we have to break up the gangbangers and the traffickers and the networks that they're using to capture our children and turn them into slaves and misuse them and abuse them and harm them and destroy them. So we're happy to be a part of this initiative and we will remain a part of it. And we wish all of the communities around us will join with us to make this a successful model in Atlanta, in Georgia, and around the USA. Thank you very much.
We kind of briefly talked about this SCLC Stop the Violence Initiative, and primarily look at Justice for Girls. What role do you see a group like SCLC playing with something you've been involved in for years now? What kind of role, collaborative role or umbrella role, what do you see happening with this?
Well, actually, I see SCLC with its status and its presence of being not limiting itself to just crimes against girls. SCLC is it's a national organization. And the violence that's plaguing our communities is bigger than any one little segment. So I see SCLC as being an umbrella organization, making available to communities in its network resources that are available in those particular areas. What I have here is a book, and it's kind of old now, but it's Deadly Consequences, Deborah Bartho Stiff from Harvard, when she was at Harvard. And this was a collection of programs at that time around the country. And it was one of the few that we had. I would submit to you that there are most organizations now, if somebody was in Arkansas and called, they would call SCLC because they are perhaps more familiar with SCLC. But SCLC may not be the direct provider, but they would say, well, you know, we are really concerned about the violence that's plaguing our communities, the children getting killed, you know, what are the intervention programs? And it would be great if the different SCLCs around the country would be able to say, okay, well, you need to see Saving Our Sons and Daughters in Arkansas. In Little Rock, we've got this group. In Mammoth, we've got this group. And in Atlanta, if it was in Georgia, if somebody called from Valdosta and they had a shootout and they call the SCLC there, the SCLC could call the national office, or the national office probably the local would have access to the information. But I sort of see SCLC being the clearinghouse umbrella authority on these are the resources that are available, because there are so many people who want to do something or say that they want to do something, and I believe they genuinely do, and they think that the only way they can do it is they have to go start another organization. And there are already organizations out there, but people don't know. And so we, in our nonprofit worlds, we're so busy with the little resources that we have. We're so busy trying to provide resources, the services to the people, that we don't, number one, we don't get dollars for marketing. And we don't have time to get out and market. But organizations like SCLC are known. And people are going to go to them because that's who they go to for help. And most people in our communities today are going for help because of violence that's plaguing our communities and quite frankly has almost destroyed our communities. And when you've got an organization like SCLC and you've got commitment from the leadership, from our president, Dr. Steele, and especially from his wife, the First Lady, Mrs. Steele, who is a former teacher, who understands the dynamics, can understand, what can happen as a result of these young people not getting the services that they need and us not intervening early on. When you bring those forces and that level of commitment from the top, then we don't have to worry about whether it's going to happen in the network of SCLC. That's pretty much a given.